just start. There's going to be challenges. You have challenges now, there's going to be challenges tomorrow, and even after you have success, there's going to be challenges. The challenges never stop. You just start learning how to get over them quicker. That's really it. And if you haven't started today, just start. And if you don't start until tomorrow, that's fine. Just take a step.
He's a singer, songwriter, and producer. He's written with the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, and Kacey Musgraves. He's shared the stage with Clint Black, Toby Keith, and so many others. My guest today is Andrew Salgado. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, good. It's such a pleasure to have you. So tell us first off, I always like to know, like, where are you from, and then where you're currently living?
Sure. I'm originally from Chicago. When I was about like 13, I joined my dad's band, and I was raised by my grandpa and grandma. My grandpa drove a truck for a living, which was for Schlitz alcohol.
Oh, cool.
And then I just kind of joined the band. So that's where I'm from. That's how I got into country music. I live now kind of all over the place. So
Oh.
I originally moved to Tennessee in 2013-ish. I think it was like the beginning of 2013, something like that. And then during the pandemic, I kept like kind of flirting back from Illinois to Tennessee. And now I have a home in Tennessee and then a residence kind of in Illinois, but not really. My wife is a property manager, so we get to kind of like pull from different places. And now we own our own tour bus. And so we're kind of wherever we need to be. And that has almost all my clothes and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So then tell us what you do for a living. I guess it's pretty obvious, right?
I sell construction. No, yeah, I singer songwriter. I've been doing it for, I mean, a long time before I knew it was anything real. Like I said,
Yeah.
I was in my dad's band from 13 to I think like 21, something like that, and then kind of ventured off on my own and found out how hard it really was.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, singer songwriter, recording artist, whatever you want to title that.
Excellent. So what would you say your genre is?
Well, it's always been country music because it's three chords and the truth. It's never really, wavered from that, especially when you listen to most of the songs, really kind of follow that. Every now and then I kind of stretch out musically, guitar wise, or a little bit of rock, a little bit of Latin infused, something like that. But it's always really rooted with an acoustic guitar and really just a story.
I love it. Love it. I love your music. I've listened to it and it's amazing. And you've got some great accomplishments. So, well, you know what? Let's also talk about this. So, did you have a career path, different career path other than music?
Yeah, huge. I really wanted, when I was a young kid, I really wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, when I was, I think, 18, 19, I was like, this is really just too hard. Plus, I'm not really good at it. And then I was working at Osco Pharmacy and really started to think about, okay, well, maybe I'll finish and I'll stay with this. And then music just kind of like fell right into my lap, and I was just like, well, maybe I have something here. Maybe there's something I need to explore. And then one thing just led to another.
It feels so good with music. I mean, well, I guess when did you know that music was your right path?
Like yesterday, no.
Sometimes, yeah, right.
Yeah,
You're
I,
like, should I really be doing
yeah.
this?
It was really in 2013. So there was a contest, and I got to meet Darryl Worley and a guy named Randy Lovelady, who had managed a bunch of people and had managed a bunch of festivals. And their belief in me really kind of gave me, I guess you would say, the confidence to keep doing it, right? And the confidence to, like, maybe this really is something I need to kind of go down. Like if this guy believes in it, then I should believe in it more. And I had people prior to that believe in me, but I didn't. I'm not sure I believed a whole bunch of what they were saying. It really became a lot more clear to me when they started to invest. And then Jim Moose Brown was a really big person for that, and a guy named Paul Cicerelli. There was a lot of people that really kind of like made me believe this is something I need to continue to do, and I need to fight through, and I need to, like, a career is so up and down,
Yeah,
and it will be going forward too, and you just have to have that core belief from the people around you.
definitely. Well, see, this is pretty fabulous. So you've written with Brian Wilson, Darryl Worley, and Kacey Musgraves?
Yeah, there's a lot more people that like don't make the list. I mean, I started writing in 2008.
Yeah.
I would come to Nashville and write with anybody who would want to write with me, and I had no reason to write with anybody. And I remember when I was with my first publishing company, we wrote like 4 times a day with just so many. Is it strangers meeting strangers every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can write with anyone is really fun because songwriting is such an emotional experience for me.
Yeah.
It really is like a form of therapy that I don't have to pay for, which is nice.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, writing with Darryl is really fun. I wrote a lot of songs with Moose, who wrote 5 O'Clock Summer, and even Don Sampson, who was one of my favorite co-writes. We wrote
Oh,
two
wow.
songs on my first album, and he wrote "Waiting on a Woman" by Brad Paisley, which is one of my
Oh,
favorite
wow.
songs. So yeah, I mean, co-writing with people in Nashville is a really fun experience that everyone really should do. And then also too, solo writing is really fun. A lot of this last album was solo written. And when you write by yourself without a co-writer,
Yeah.
nobody to pull from. You have to dig deeper into your own truth to be able to really put it on paper because no one's going to come save you with like, oh, here's a great line that, describes it. You have to save yourself kind of.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, then tell us what it was like. I gotta know because I love
Sure.
Kacey Musgraves. And I love Darryl Worley too. I mean, he's huge here in Texas.
Yeah.
Um, but what was it like writing with her?
I didn't get to meet anybody. That was
Gotcha.
more of just being in the right situation at the right time and getting lucky with it. The engineer knew pretty much everybody, and it was one of those things of like, here's an idea that I have, and then they write, and everyone kind of wrote together.
Oh,
And
okay.
I thought it sounded pretty good and was pretty happy with it. And then it really opened up the door for me to write with a lot of other people too.
And
Um,
what was the song that y'all wrote, or was it released? Ever released, or?
Yeah, it's on Brian's album No Peer Pressure. It's called Guess You Had to Be There.
Oh, okay. We'll have to
Yeah.
check.
And there was a funny story. Um I think I was in Orlando. I was somewhere in Florida. I don't really remember. We were out to dinner and it was me and two other songwriters. And the ladies behind us were talking about the album that had come out like a month prior. And they were talking about how that was one of their favorite songs, and I was like, my God, like
Oh my
I'm in the right
God.
situation at the right time. Maybe I should go say something. And so they were leaving. I said, hey, I couldn't help notice that you really like that album. Like, I was one of the co-writers on that song. They're like, no, you weren't. And so I was like, no, I'm I'm one of the co-writers on that song. And so like they had to pull up the album, which they actually had. It's so rare that people have it. It was back in 2015, and they were older women, so it was right in the demographic of having CDs and playing them in your car.
Yes.
And so I was like, yeah, I'm Andrew Salgado, and I remember having to show my license, and then and then after I had done that, they were like, oh, that's cool, bye. And I
You're
probably
like,
just
you don't want a picture or anything, or?
I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, I probably didn't need to do any of that. I just thought it was really cool.
That is amazing.
Because
Isn't that
it was a
weird?
month later. Yeah, well, a month later, you're hearing people go like, "Oh, this album is so great." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like this is a cool moment to like say something. But then after that, I really don't talk about it much.
Do you know what is the name of the album?
It's called No Peer Pressure.
Okay,
Yeah,
that you
I
said
have a
that.
copy
Thank you.
too, which is pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. Well, so tell us about, first of all, this isn't your most recent release, but your single Lipstick
Lipstick Stains
Stains on my
Yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah.
It's been
Yeah,
#1 on the Roots music chart for 5 weeks in a row.
yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know we were going to get a radio single. I mean, we've never had one before, right? So you
Yeah.
never know when the first one comes. And we were on a press tour for this album, April and May. We did a 60-day press tour because of the pandemic. We hadn't really done much, and I think it was halfway through that we had met Bill Wentz and his team, and they were like, we're going to take one of these songs for a single to country radio. And I was just like, this is okay. Like, what do I need to do with
Yeah.
this? Is amazing. And I called my then fiance, now wife, and just was like, I think I'm getting a a single. I think I'm getting a radio single here. Like, this is pretty cool. And I remember her going like, well, what does that mean? And I went, I don't really know what it means, but I mean, it's nice to have a shot, right? And
Yes.
you never know how many shots you get, and one or done all this other stuff. And um, then I started to understand what the charts were, right? Because I really only knew about the Music Row and like Billboard chart, and there are lots of charts everywhere, and they all mean different things, and they all have different people that report, and there are a ton of radio stations around the country, which is kind of cool to know that, because it wasn't a field I had really spent any time kind of learning. And then when it actually went number 4 on that chart, and I looked at the names on that chart, and it's everybody. It was Morgan Wallen, Brad Paisley, was everybody.
Phew.
And I remember taking like a photo and sending it to my wife, and just saying like, wow, we should frame this, because it's never going to get higher than this. And then the next week it went number 1, and I told my manager too, I'm like, well, and that's pretty cool, and that means that more stations were reporting to it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be there next week, so maybe we go to another single, whatever the case may be. And then it went 5 weeks, and now we're on our second single, which is called Learning How to Forget. And it's just it's one of those things for every artist that it's a very nice thing to have, and it's not something you can really prepare for or really understand. You're very thankful for it.
So are these played like on regional stations, or is this is, I guess it's across the US then, right?
Yeah,
These are like major
across
radio.
the country. I think
Yeah.
at one point we had 68 stations across the globe.
Oh,
Um, I think many of those were the Music Row reporting stations, and I think we're up to 27 right now. I don't know the hard number, but I'm pretty sure it's that, because we get a report each week.
congratulations. Everybody go listen so you can get this song
Yes.
going up on the charts.
Yeah, please
That's
do.
incredible. Oh, I love it. You're amazing.
We actually just made a video for the new song a couple days ago. We're editing it as we speak, and hopefully, I think we're going to launch it Wednesday. I'm not sure when this airs, or like when this is going, but if it syncs up in time, great.
Possibly tomorrow.
Right. Possibly, right? That's the best thing about podcasts, is there's so much freedom in what you do.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I love it. And I get to meet people like you,
Yeah, pretty cool.
inspiring guests. And it's just like, it's so funny because I've had a guest on before that's like, I don't really know what to say. There's not a lot to talk about. He didn't even think he was inspiring. And it's like,
Right.
our interview ended up being almost an hour long,
That's cool.
but
Yeah.
it was incredibly inspiring. So yeah, this is such a wonderful platform. I love it. Um, so tell us more about Learning How to Forget. So what was your inspiration behind it? And tell
Yeah.
us about it.
Sure. I wrote Learning How to Forget coming off of a major breakup. I was engaged, and it didn't work out. And I quickly realized that you had to like learn how to forget somebody, especially when you think they're going to be with you for a very, very long time. Um, and also too, I needed to kind of write something to kind of help myself. I was pretty much waking up every day just trying to like forget and kind of move on, and how difficult it was for it. And then I really just put it into the song. A lot of the lyrics are stuff that was really happening. I started in the morning with an open-ended prayer and no regrets, and that pretty much was what was happening. And learning how to forget, the color of your dress, your eyes, your lips, the way your lips felt, all that kind of stuff. I'm learning how to forget, and trying to go through that process. And the song really kind of just wrote itself. And we had so much time to write this album, because it was supposed to be recorded in 2020. Obviously that didn't happen, and didn't even happen in 2021 before we were able to get everything down. So the album was written in stages, and the first stage was really getting over that breakup, which is where Learning How to Forget really falls into.
And then you said the video is going to be released, do you think maybe in the next couple of weeks? Or?
I'm hoping Wednesday of this week. So
Oh, fantastic.
that would be October 20th. No, October 19th. I'm hoping.
Okay. Yes. Well,
Don't
then
hold me. Now you have it on tape.
as soon as you have the link to it, let me know and I'll put it in the
Yeah,
show notes. Because
awesome.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So you've shared the stage with Eli Young, Clint Black, Toby Keith.
Yeah.
Like what?
And those are all people that we've been fortunate to open for. And I know that what we're talking about doing next year, we're talking about doing a lot of opening slots too. And those are just like the co-writes. Those are just like radio. They're just fun. You're opening up for people that you idolize, and you get to step in front of their crowd to try and win a couple fans for yourself,
Yeah.
and then also just really get your music out there. So it's really it's a lot of fun. I think I got to pray with Toby Keith before one of his shows. I thought that was pretty cool. He put his
Oh,
arm on me. He has no clue who I am, but he put his arm, and we just did this prayer, and that was one of the coolest moments of my life. And then talking backstage with Clint Black was really funny and really cool because he made a joke, and I didn't know it was a joke at the time. He said, "You're the best opener I've had," and he put a pause, and then he said, "Today." And so I had quickly realized, oh, okay, that's had kind of taken a little bit different, and also like what you learn from watching other people, and
yeah.
how I watched like I'll never forget, I watched the other openers for the Toby Keith show, and even my show, like people were grooving,
Yeah.
you know they were definitely listening. And then you watch Toby Keith come out, and people were jumping. I mean, when you watch it from backstage, it looks like you know, just excitement and going, wow, that's what a live show should really do. A live show really has to, you're really hitting people. Those are diehard fans, right?
Yeah.
And then also watching Clint Black from the side of the stage, he did an acoustic set, and I hadn't done that prior to my shows, and I do it pretty much every show now. And he just took an acoustic guitar and he just talked to everybody. You could hear a pin drop, and he was telling jokes, and he was singing songs. He did like 4 or 5 songs, and that you could just tell that was his moment, and everybody was glued into it 100%. And so like the knowledge you get from open for someone is great. Also too, the setup is pretty nice. You don't have to bring anything, besides
Yeah.
your own kind of gear. So I love opening for people more than anything else. I understand why we don't do it as much as I would probably want to. But yeah, I mean, it's really great to be able to do it. I'll stop doing these long answers to these short
No,
questions.
no, I love this. This is tell us more, This is, people that are aspiring to chase their dream. There's all these things, and especially songwriters, just the more that we can learn from you, the more we can,
There you
do
go.
things and choose our direction.
Yeah.
But I guess with that said, do you ever have imposter syndrome, like doubts, like what the heck?
Oh,
How am I here with like Clint Black or Toby Keith
yeah.
and or anything
Yeah.
like that?
Pretty much all the time. Even when we're like making an album, it's just like I don't know if this is good. I've never really known if anything's good. I don't think an artist should. I think they should be so focused on making the content that the results are the results. People like it or people don't, but it has to be real to you, and it has to be um, something that you're proud of. But it doesn't mean that it's gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
Even when I was in that contest in 2013, some of the songs that I played, I didn't know if they would really work or not. And I was in Alabama for the first time at that contest, so I was like, man, I'm originally from Chicago. Like I'm kind of out of my element. But I quickly realized the beautiful thing about country fans is if you're authentic and they get a chance to see it, they have to see it. But if they get a chance to see it, they'll understand it. And so that's kind of the best thing that you can do, and that I've always tried to do is really just be myself. And I knew if I could just be myself long enough, that eventually things would kind of work out. And I think that holds true for everybody, no matter how long it
Yeah.
takes your style to kind of work. If it is truly deep rooted in what you say it is, you'll be fine.
Oh, that's beautiful and so true. I feel the same way. I feel more in my life now because I feel like I'm in a relationship that supports every single thing I do,
Yeah.
that there's that confidence that it gives me. And I just feel like now it's like I'm being myself, I'm not trying to be somebody else, or they want me to be. I'm just
Yeah, I've been there.
me. Feels good.
Yeah, I've been there where people have, told you what to wear and what to say and what not to say and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just not there anymore. I think what was good for me was I had a tonsillectomy in 2012. And I kind of woke up from that and was just like, no, I'm just gonna do things my way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm not gonna listen to people telling me what I should do or should say. I'm just gonna be myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes through. You're right.
Yeah.
So then what do you think is the most rewarding about your path?
Rewarding. I mean that I'm still doing it. I hope in 10 years I'm still doing the same stuff. And in 20 years, I don't know. You know, family and some other things probably start making their way into your 50s and 60s and stuff like that. I mean, I'm far away from that. That would probably be my 40s, but like you kind of get the point. Um, but yeah, I mean, the fact that you're still doing is the best reward. You're waking up every day doing something that you love, and you're trying to make money at it. There's not really much more you can ask for.
So then for your most recent album, what was your inspiration behind that and your songwriting? What is your songwriting process?
Well, the inspiration for the album was different than other albums because there was so much time to make it. So a lot of the songs were written in the fall. And what I love about the fall is even though everything is dying, the sunshine really shines through and you're still going to get through it, right? The spring is right around the corner. And that was the basis of what the album was going to be. What was beautiful is that because so much time had passed, I had found new love and then self-love. So you have an album of songs that are from three different stages of life, which is pretty unique. And we obviously didn't plan it that way. And so you have getting over a breakup, then
Yeah.
loving yourself, and then obviously new love. And so um, I think I think why people are relating to it is because there's something to relate to, right? There's a song
Yeah.
called "Everything's Changed But Us," which is a great song um, that talks about the world will change, your love will change, but you'll grow together. Everything really changes around us, but we still love each other today, right? That's everything changed but us. And then learning how to forget, how to move on from someone. And then, songs like Breathe and, these other songs like Grace, where you love yourself, right? You really start loving who you are and, you're accepting all this stuff. And then, my songwriting process is, it's really always just writing what needs to be written at that time. I
Yeah.
even I even find myself sometimes where, if I'm in a really, really happy mood, there's a lot of like happy stuff coming out. And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I probably need to like go back and, go through things. So I have a lot of ways to get triggered back into things. And I have journals beyond journals. Like when we move, we have boxes of paper. It's like the dumbest thing because I'm so old into the technological world. And so like literally I have folders that are like this big of ideas and songs that never went anywhere and all that kind of stuff. And so I'll go through that. And I even have a journal that's just titles, you know titles and
Oh,
ideas. And so when I'm in a certain state too long, I'll kind of pull from other things and go like, oh yeah, I really wanted to write the song called "Talking to Angels," right? I really did want to write that a long time ago, and then I wrote it last week, and then I wanted to really write a song like that, and that's pretty much my process. And also, too, one of the things that I always do is I always change things up. I don't like falling into a certain formula. So,
mm,
what I mean by that is some people they start with a title and then they go into lyrics, or they start with a groove and then they get a title, and then they have like a formula of how they do things. And in 2015, I really realized that I need to adapt all the time. And when I'm writing with other co-writers, I just adapt to what they do. So if they go like I write the music first and I write the music with them. And that process taught me how to always be able to write a song no matter how it starts. And I think it's one of the reasons I'm able to write, 40 to 80 songs per year, is because I'm always changing it. I start with just the music sometimes, or I start with the entire lyric sometimes, or just an
Yeah.
idea, or I just kind of go with it. I don't even know where it's starting. I just, I fall into it. And I think what ends up happening is your brain doesn't, these are just my opinions. I'm not saying everyone needs to do this. Like, I think for me, my brain never really shuts off, and it's constantly like moving into those different avenues for the process of writing a song.
So then what does your day look like? Do you yeah, so do, are you so you're writing 80 songs a year? That's incredible.
Well,
That's
I've been doing it for a really long time. And then, some years, you don't hit it. I think in 2019 I wrote 90 something songs because I was coming off a breakup, and I think I had done it all by like July. Um, and and then there are other years where I'd have to count. Maybe I'm around 40 to 50 this year. Sometimes you tour more. The pandemic was easy because you're at home,
yeah.
right? And it was even more hilarious that I don't think I got close to 80 in 2020, just because there was so much going on. Even though I was home, it's like I couldn't like focus like many other people, because I
Yeah.
was watching the news like all day
Yeah.
long. And I remember at one point I didn't even want to go outside to get the groceries that had been delivered. So if you start like thinking about like where I was at that point, I was like, I can't go downstairs to get those groceries. Like, that'd be crazy. Like, I have to wipe my hands and wipe the bags and the food, all this other stuff.
um,
My breath running down the stairs. So yeah, I mean, I think the only way that I'm able to do that is because I constantly change the process up. I don't ever stay with one, like, okay, this is how I'm going to write all the time.
yeah.
I constantly change it. And even I'll give you a great example. My wife was struggling with the daddy daughter song. Her dad unfortunately passed about 6 years ago, and so she wanted to dance with all the men in her life. So her new stepdad,
Oh.
uncles, grandpas, stuff like that. And so, I can't fix things around the house, and she'll be the first one to tell you. I can't fix things when my car breaks down, and she'll be the first one to tell you. But I can write a song, and I don't know what possessed me to say, why don't we write one together? And that's exactly what we did. And she's never written a song before, so I just said, what do you really want it to be about? And we just did it, and everyone was crying at the wedding, and it was very difficult for me not to cry. I
Oh.
somehow found the performance side of myself, and really did it. I didn't cry on the song that I wrote for her, and I didn't cry on the song that we wrote together for her dad, which was as a miracle in itself.
That's beautiful. So has it inspired y'all then to write more together?
No, I don't know if she'll ever write another song. I think she hit it out of the park with that one, and that might be the
Yeah.
only one that she ever does. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. But
So are most of your songs like do you do a lot like those 80 songs, those were with co-writes as well?
in 2020, they were all solo written. I don't do as many co-writes anymore. Synapse Publishing, loves the fact that I can write by myself, and I think in this day and age, I think people writing by themselves is very important. I think co-writing is very important too. I'm kind of always on the fence on, what should be done more. I think when a writer writes by himself, or herself, they really understand who they are as far as the song.
Mhm.
And then when they write with other people, they really get to learn, and they get to write something that they couldn't write on their own, right? They could only write it with this collection of people and this chemistry, and everything bouncing off it. But I think I've only co-written 10 times in the last 3 years,
Oh wow.
something like that. Everything else has been solo written. And there's one song on this last album that was a co-write, and it was a new writer at that time. She had like 6 songs, and I love writing with anybody, because the younger writers have so much energy,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes they have just a ton of ideas, and it's just reeling them into one specific idea. And then when you write with older writers, they're a lot calmer, and they really know themselves, and they have the confidence. They can stare at a blank page for an hour and not care, you know and And a younger writer will stare at a blank page for 20 minutes and feel tons of anxiety, and just like, we gotta get something down. We have to do this. So um a lot of the songs have been solo written because of Synapse, but it doesn't mean that I don't love co-writing still as much as I did back in 2008. Just want
So
to make sure that.
so then your publisher, you said, so when did that start? And then so you're writing then for them
Yeah,
most.
well, yeah, for them, for myself, whatever needs to be. We even wrote some stuff for television, film, things like that. Whatever it needs to be. I produced this last album too, so I'm starting to really look into producing other artists too, which I think is even that's a whole nother thing, but I think it's really really fun. But that started in 2017. They signed me, and I've been with them ever since.
And so you went and did you reach out to a lot of publishers? And
No, I've never reached out to any publisher. Like I think I reached out to one publisher one time, and I went and played them songs and nothing ever happened. And that was enough for me to like never reach out to anybody else ever again. And in 2015, I found someone, and the idea was to start a publishing company, and then it tanked. And then in 2017, Synapse found me, and I knew the plan, so I was good to go on it. But yeah, I think an artist really should just stay focused on, and a songwriter too, just focused on writing.
oh,
But there's other people who have probably have different stories. I mean, mine was just there's too much anxiety reaching out, and
yeah.
we're not interested, or we don't like your stuff, kind of a thing. So it just kind of moved.
So then you said you have management. Well, when are you going to be touring for your album?
We did a bunch of stuff in the spring of this year. Like I said, we did a 60-day media tour every single day. I think we did 15 states, something like that. I don't remember how many states were done on that. And then we did some stuff during the summer, but most of the summer was already kind of pre-booked from everything else. And our album took so long to really kind of see the data light that we didn't really have much. But what we're gearing up to do, we're going to start in January. We're starting Minnesota, where it's very warm in January. And we're going to do the Keep Coming Back tour pretty much the whole year. So we're actually in the process of planning that right now, and working with agents and everything else like that to make sure we can do it, and open for people, headline here, open for people, headline there, kind
Yeah.
of bounce back and forth.
And well, that's exciting. It's gonna be here before you know it. My gosh.
No, the years tend to just go real quick in this industry.
I know. Incredible. So who are some of your influences?
Well, when I was growing up, they were all singers, right? So it was Alan Jackson and Elvis and Dean Martin, the Clint Blacks of the world, and Neil McCoy and all that kind of stuff. And then when I started, when I was like around 1920, I started really getting into like Keith Urban and Brad Paisley and Tommy Emmanuel, and like just a whole bunch of guitar players. So like my influences are they're either guitar based or they're singing based, right? It kind of like flirts back and forth depending on it, but it was heavy country music, to the point of like, if you go back to when I was younger, none of my friends were into country music, or even most of my family, and I really got them all into it to
Oh,
where
that's
now they go to country music festivals and it's like their life. And I always have to remind them, like, I kind of got you into this.
I love that. That's awesome. Did they get to make it to any of your shows often
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Especially when I'm in Illinois, that's pretty easy for friends and family to come out to. But I've had some friends and family travel, which is pretty cool. Like my best friend of 20 something years, he ended up driving our bus down to St. Louis, and it was the first time he's seen me play outside of Illinois, and it was at the Chesterfield Amphitheater, which is pretty cool. And so he drove, and then he took a video for us, and we put it up on social media. So that was pretty cool for me to kind of share that with him, because he never really
yeah.
gets to see it. And then my family and my brother, they came down and saw me in Florida, which was really cool. My parents, I think they drove up to Wisconsin one time, and I think Michigan, because that's just a drive to,
Wow.
kind of get
So what would you say is challenging about this career?
everything. I mean, it's really tough nowadays, because I remember back in 2013, it was really just, put some stuff on YouTube and go out and do your career. And
Yeah.
now, nowadays, myself included, it's let's have a meeting about TikTok and Instagram. Let's have a meeting about, what we're going to do social media wise. And it's a whole nother kind of wrench thrown into the equation that you have to kind of figure out. And then also too, it's like, well, let's tour. Well, where and how expensive is it going to be here? How cheap is it going to be here? What's the right way to do this? Will anyone care if it's just an acoustic guitar? Will anyone care if it's just 3 guys in the band, 5 guys? And it's a lot more question and answers. And then too, singles and music videos and all this other stuff. And you want to do everything great, but it's unrealistic to do everything great. Sometimes you do something and it just doesn't come out the way you think, and you have to really be good at just bouncing back. It was one of the good things that I had done with baseball is anytime I would strike out, I would never care. I can't say that defensively, but when I was in the batter's box, I never cared if I struck out. It's why I didn't strike out many times and always was able to make contact, because you have to forget quickly. And that has to happen here too. I think the hardest thing is to forget. Learning how to forget, right? Tie it all in at one time. But yeah, it's a very tough industry, and it's up and down daily. Just like baseball is 0 for 4, 4 for 3, or 3 for 4. You have to keep doing it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So true. So
Yeah.
then when you are on the road, what does it look like when you're touring?
Just trying to get sleep, right? That's like the hardest thing on tour.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'll play anywhere. And a lot of the new agents that we've brought in this year, for next year and beyond, they're really starting to learn that there isn't an area that I won't go to. I think if anyone wants to come see a show, then that's a show that we need to play, right? And that includes all areas. And I just recently got my passport so we could do some international stuff. I hadn't had a passport since, so that option was always like, well, if it comes down the road that we want to do this, let's do it. So
Yeah.
touring wise, I really want to tour a lot next year. And then also too, what it looks like, I try to have as much fun as possible, because a lot of touring is killing time. It's
Right.
like 9 hours to get somewhere, you get it.
Yeah.
It's like 15 hours to get somewhere. So I have like all this entertainment that I bring on the bus or van or car, whatever the case, for me and the musicians, like a Nintendo Switch, or like movies, which I love movies more than anything, especially if they're Marvel or DC. And so like I'll have all that so we can do that, or play cards, or play, board games and stuff like that. Or, just, playing guitar. But I tend to want to play music more than almost everyone that I'm around. So I try to do other things so that they're not bored with it.
I love it. So what was one of the things, that one of your wins that you were so happy about? It's one of your biggest wins.
Hmm. Man, like in my career or just in my life?
In your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my wedding was a big win for my life. And I think for my career, working with Moose on the first album, I learned a lot from him. I was very honored. I was just very humbled to be in that situation, and to make what I thought was a really, really good product. And just kind of be a part of it. So I think that was huge. I think working with Rendy, I think opening for all those people, even this, the song with Brian Wilson, even all the interviews that I do, even this, like all the interviews that you do are a great example of how lucky you are to be on that interview, because people take their time to ask me questions. I mean, it doesn't really get better than that, right? You have to be very lucky for that to happen. So all of that in a nutshell.
I feel very lucky to be able to ask you all these questions, and it's just so inspiring. I love this. This is a blessing. And this is officially a year that I've been doing this. And
Cool.
I feel like I've even grown as a person, it's just,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
So, well then, what do you want listeners to know about you and your path?
Me and my path. I've never been asked that. Um, I really only want people to know about me from my music. Yeah, that's kind of always been a focus from day one. Um, that's why I don't want to do contests that aren't right for that kind of path, and um, that's why I've kind of shied away from a lot of social media stuff too. I really want the music to be known for the music, not because I happen to love baseball or played or all this other stuff. Um, but
Or
yeah,
you had these incredible dance moves or something.
I definitely don't. I mean, it depends. I'm such a light drinker that when I do drink on occasion, it's extremely rare. But when it happens, boy, does it hit pretty hard. And I'm sure I have a lot of better dance moves during those than anything else in life. But I mean, I love to sing and play. I turn into a different person on stage, and even I
Yeah.
feel that because it's the only time I'm super comfortable and relaxed. I can sing and play for 4 hours and never feel it. Like I never feel tired.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's awesome because I can walk up the stairs and feel winded pretty quickly, and yet I can play shows and it's nothing. So I hope listeners go listen to the music because they'll hear the passion from the songs because that's all I know how to do, and you'll see that passion at a live show too.
I love that. Where can they find you?
AndrewSalgado.net or social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Look for the blue check mark next to the name and the face and the hat and all that other kind of stuff, and that'll kind of help.
And then I'll have a link in the show notes as well.
Sweet.
So, what couple more questions for you.
Sure.
So, what if listeners have a dream but haven't started or having challenges along the way? What is your advice and what are some tips that you would give them?
Just start. There's going to be challenges. You have challenges now. There's going to be challenges tomorrow, and even after you have success, there's going to be challenges. The challenges never stop. You just start learning how to get over them quicker. That's really it. And if you haven't started today, just start. And if you don't start until tomorrow, that's fine. Just take a step. A lot of times, I think people in this industry forget that it's really just taking steps. Even if you can take a small step today, just take it. Like I get excited when we get 10 more fans on a certain site. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that. I used to have someone that I would get excited about hey, we got 7 more followers, and they're like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, no, 7 is fine. Like even 1 a day is fine. Um, you just nobody wants to have a 0, but even a 0 is okay. What are you gonna do tomorrow? That that
Yeah.
that's kind of that would be the advice that I would give somebody. And don't worry about how big or small your career is. A lot of people will be like, oh, I don't have fans like that person, or I don't have fans like this. But there's something you can do today, and you can still do that. Now that might mean you have to write a song for television or film, or that might mean you write a song for somebody else, or that might mean you have to do another album, or you have to do this, or you have to take less money in this area, or you have to do that. But there's something you can do. Unless you're dead, there's something you can do.
It's so interesting. So I thought, I'm going to write a book. I want to write a book on each episode, and that's going to be a chapter. And you just gave me an idea for the title of it. Just start. Because do you know, in 80% of the podcast, it's always just jump in, just
Yeah.
start, just go
Yeah.
for it. It's always that. And it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easy to overthink. I mean, I've been there. I've made a lot of mistakes overthinking and not moving. And then you can see it. You can see it so clearly with other people. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, no, just do it. It's like, oh, well, we don't have this, and I really want it to go like this. I want to plan it like this. I want to plan it like that. It's like, just do it. Your plans will change. You'll adapt, and you'll figure it out. And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it'll always work out if you just take the next step.
And just because this plan worked for so and so, that doesn't mean that's your plan and that's your direction.
100%.
I love it. Love it. So what advice would you give to your younger self? If you could look back, what would you tell yourself?
Stay in pharmacy. No, No, just stop worrying. Stop overthinking. I mean, seriously, what we literally just talked about. It'll all be fine. You know, just you just if you're doing what you love to do, then there really is no bad days. You know.
Um, Beautiful. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, thank you so much for having me. You
Oh
know,
my gosh.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking almost an hour out of your day to do this. And so, such a blessing, so inspiring. And we wish you luck on your new music and hope to get to see you here in Texas.
Yeah, I think we'll be back in December. We were just there in May, so I think we'll be back in December for a whole week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Are you feeling inspired? Are you ready to get started? Send me a message. Tell me what you thought about this podcast episode. Don't forget to check out previous episodes and always share these. I would love to get your help with this inspiration and get this out into the world. I really appreciate you. And don't forget, I have a new membership page. I share inspiring messages every week. Just visit bonnielang.com. Please subscribe to this podcast. I hope you have an amazing day. I'm sending you peace, love, happiness, and hugs.